Good day, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the 5th annual Power of Giving Symposium, bringing historic perspectives to contemporary conversations about educational equity and the role of philanthropy. I'm Dr. Anthea Hartig, the Elizabeth MacMillan Director of the National Museum of American History of your Smithsonian Institution, and it's my honor to once again be your host. In today's Power of Giving Symposium, philanthropy and educational thought leaders will join Smithsonian historians to discuss the role that philanthropy has played in addressing educational inequality across time. They'll ask, what impact have our recent crises had on existing educational inequities? What opportunities do those inequities and these challenges present for philanthropy to address them? And importantly, how can history inform today's philanthropists? The Power of Giving is part of the National Museum of American History's Philanthropy Initiative, dedicated to exploring the breadth and the diversity of Americans' visions and experiences in philanthropy. The initiative collects, researches, documents, and exhibits materials relating to the history of American giving and convenes conversations like these about philanthropy's impact across time and a wide spectrum of issues. The initiative examines how Americans' gifts of time, expertise, and resources continue to shape American history in all its complexities and reflect our nation's ideas and ideals. We invite you to visit the Philanthropy Initiative exhibition, Who Pays for Education, and the updated Giving in America exhibition. This exhibit, which you can see online or at the museum, presents how Americans have confronted the issues of who gets to be educated and who pays for education. Objects in the exhibition are from the museum's extensive education collections. The National Education Collections, which can be perused online and through select exhibits, range from the graduation dress worn by Minnie Jean Brown of the Little Rock Nine, who bravely desegregated Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957, to political buttons and fundraising banners for METCO, the oldest volunteer desegregation busing program in the country. Other highlights include bilingual report cards and Sesame Street teaching kits. The museum has been working as part of the broader Smithsonian distance learning efforts for a while now, but especially during this pandemic. A few highlights. To make our digital assets available to educators and students, our History Explorer website offers over 1,000 different lesson plans, object explorations, and multimedia tools, all matched to national curriculum standards. Museum educators also provide regular newsletters and weekly live webinars in English and in Spanish for history and social science teachers. Thank you for joining us today. We'll hear more from educators, college presidents, classroom teachers, a former Secretary of Education. The conversation promises to be robust and important. I'd like to once again thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and David M. Rubenstein, whose support helped us launch the Philanthropy Initiative in 2015. My thanks as well to the Fidelity Charitable Trustees Initiative, a grant-making program of Fidelity Charitable, for their support. It's now my great pleasure to introduce friend and supporter Steve Case, Chair of the Smithsonian Institution Board of Regents.
Well, thank you, Anthea, and thank all of you for joining us for day 2 of the Power of Giving. This is an exciting time at the Smithsonian, an institution that's been around for nearly 175 years. But like most organizations, 2020 forced us to rethink and reimagine what the Smithsonian could be. And one of the key initiatives that's come out of that is virtual Smithsonian, including programs like this. How do we take the Smithsonian to more people and more places, and take the Smithsonian from being just a place that people visit to being much more of a platform, including for convening important conversations. We've made great progress over this past year in moving forward with the virtual Smithsonian. including launching an open Smithsonian initiative, taking some of the best of the Smithsonian and releasing it to the public so people could curate their own exhibits and share that information with other people. We also launched an initiative around One Smithsonian, creating a more unified approach to the Smithsonian, both within the Smithsonian and partnering and collaborating with other organizations around the Smithsonian. That's also come to life this year in a very big way with the American Women's History Initiative. That's something that my wife, Jean, and I are big fans of and contributors to. Jean actually is the co-chair of that initiative. That's allowed us to take the best of the Smithsonian from all the various parts of the Smithsonian and tell the stories of women who represent half our country, but their stories have often not been told. They've often been hidden, and using the museums, all the museums, to tell those stories, as well as our broader digital footprint, really is enabling us to do a better job than we've done previously. We also launched a very important initiative on our shared future, talking about a very sensitive conversation this year around race. And the Smithsonian plays a unique role in this country, indeed in this world, partly because of its history. It was founded with the support of a Congress, and our regents include the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Vice President of the United States, members of the Senate and the House, Republicans and Democrats, as well as some citizen regents. It's a unique organization that's perfectly positioned to try to bridge some of the divides in this country, have some of the discussions that we need to have in this country. So thank all of you for joining us for the Power of Giving. Thank many of you for being supporters of the Smithsonian. We're grateful for the ideas and the resources you provide that enable us to take the Smithsonian into the future. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your insights and for your leadership. In our next panel, Funding Opportunity and Resilience at HBCUs and Community Colleges, moderator and Smithsonian Regent David M. Rubenstein will speak with panelists about the critical role that philanthropy can play in making a college education accessible to some of the country's most vulnerable students. I'm so pleased to welcome David and Dr. Eduardo J Padrón, President Emeritus of Miami Dade College, Dr. David A. Thomas, President of Morehouse College, and Dr. Suzanne Elise Walsh, President of Bennett College. They're joined by Ebony A. Thomas, Bank of America Senior Vice President, who's leading its $1 billion Racial Equality and Economic Opportunity Initiative.
Hello, I'm David Rubenstein, and I want to thank you all for joining us in a panel we're going to have today that is a really terrific panel. And I'd like to just go through the backgrounds of the people that we have on the panel, because it truly is an extraordinary group of people who know this subject quite well. Alphabetical order, Dr. David Thomas, who's the 12th president of Morehouse College. He previously served as a professor at Wharton and at Harvard Business School and was the dean of the business school at Georgetown. He has his undergraduate and master's degree and his PhD from Yale. Ebony Thomas is the Senior Vice President of ESG and Public Policy at Bank of America. She's been at Bank of America in a number of senior positions for a number of years. And prior to Bank of America, she worked at a number of other organizations, including Prudential and Ernst & Young. She's a graduate of North Carolina A&T. Eduardo Padrón is the President Emeritus of Miami Dade College. He was the president there from 1995 till 2019, just last year. He's a graduate of Florida Atlantic and a master's and PhD from the University of Florida in economics. He's a native of Cuba and came to the United States at the age of 16 without speaking any English. He built Miami-Dade into the nation's largest college, and for that and other things, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2016. And Dr. Suzanne Elise Walsh. She became the 19th president of Bennett College last year. She has her undergraduate degree from Cornell and her law degree and a master's degree from Case Western Reserve. Previously, she had worked in leadership positions at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Lumina Foundation for Education, the Lumina Foundation for Foundation for Education, and the Heinz Endowment. So thank you all for joining us. And why don't we just start right at the beginning and let me ask David and Suzanne, historically black colleges and universities have had an important role in our country's history. Can you speak about the experiences that they provide to students and why they're so important to maintain. Why should we maintain historically Black colleges and universities? So David, would you like to go first?
Sure. And, my my answer here is anchored in Morehouse College because I did not attend a historically Black college, but I've had the privilege to be president here for 3 years. And I would say first, it starts in terms of the experiences provided here with this is an environment where students, I think, feel welcomed and challenged in ways that are not always typical at predominantly white institutions. And, as you noted, I was a faculty member at Harvard and Penn and dean at Georgetown. And I remember when I was at Georgetown, I made an observation that I didn't see African-American students at award ceremonies when we were giving out academic awards. And so I spoke about it to my faculty and staff. I spoke about it to my students. And some of my students came and said to me, who were then juniors and seniors, how in their early time at Georgetown, they just didn't feel like anybody saw them for who they were when they arrived. And I think here at Morehouse, I see the exact opposite. Students feel seen. And where you feel seen, you feel empowered, and it builds a sense of confidence. And I think in addition to, outstanding education from just a purely book learning sense, this creates an environment where students realize their full potential and they feel seen, and that's very unique. Second, I think another underlying value for these institutions is the notion of leadership and service. Almost from the time, I know it's true here at Morehouse, it's even in our mission statement. Leadership and service, no matter what vocation you go into. And the last thing I'll say is, the way I describe Morehouse and what's really unique about it is that we are the only institution in higher education singularly committed to the production of Black male excellence at scale. You can go anywhere and find a few, but you can't go to any other graduation in America and find 400 ready to go out into the world and be excellent in one place on the planet. And that makes a difference for our students.
So who was Morehouse? Who was Mr. or Miss Morehouse? Who is that?
Great question. And this will relate if you start to ask us about funding. Morehouse was the head of the philanthropic arm of what was then the major association of Baptist churches in the country. And they were the primary funding source for Morehouse College. We were originally the Atlanta Baptist College. And Mr. Morehouse essentially gave the college a lifeline that kept it open after Reconstruction. And so in 1921, we renamed the college for Reverend Morehouse.
Okay. So Suzanne, can you tell us what your view is on historically Black colleges and universities? And can you explain why colleges like Bennett, where you are exclusively female, is there an advantage to having a historically Black college and historically female college as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think that this is a moment in time where it's really important for us to remember that historically Black colleges are built for purpose. And so while there's a lot of talk about equity and inclusivity around the globe, whether that's about gender or race, a place like Bennett College, we're built for this. And so this is something that's in our DNA. And what I think is really important about it is it means that our students on a daily basis don't have to worry about gender or race being part of the equation. And so when you think about the energy that students expend just getting through the day as a student, studying, worrying about, do I belong here? Do I not belong here? When students go through that phase, they don't have to ask, is something happening because of race or gender? They can focus on their studies. They can be stressed out about studies, but they don't have to be stressed out about these other components. We absolutely, from the beginning, have lifted up women as leaders. We started, quite frankly, as a coeducational institution in 1873. And in 1926, we became a women's college because increasingly it was clear that there needed to be a place for Black women to be able to study, to be able to have the kind of supports that were needed as the country was changing, as we just heard earlier about the exhibit at the Smithsonian. America was becoming a very different place in the 1920s for women. And so Bennett College became single gender at that time. I think the other, oh, please.
Who was Bennett?
Oh my God, great question. Because Mr. Bennett, Lyman Bennett, was a white man from Troy, New York. What was he doing investing in this historically Black college in North Carolina? He saw something special in Bennett and invested. He made the first large donation, $10,000, so that the college could purchase the land to build physical resources. We were founded in the church basement of St. Matthew's United Methodist Church. And so this was our ability to be able to set up a campus. But that was a gift. It's sort of like, is that the last time that we received an investment from an independent philanthropist for purchasing land or capital expenses? I think it may have been.
Of all the totally historic Black colleges and universities, how many are female only?
There's two of us, Spelman and Bennett.
Okay. All right. I won't ask you which one is better, but I won't ask.
I mean, it's okay.
Okay. So, Eduardo, Miami-Dade is the largest and most diverse community college in the entire country. Can you tell us about who the students are? I assume you have a fairly high Latino population, but I don't know. And what percentage of your budget actually comes from the government? And has that been going up and down? Or do you depend on philanthropic contributions or government and tuition to kind of keep the place going?
Thank you, David. Miami Dade College, it's basically a microcosm of the community that it serves. It's very large, very diverse, as you mentioned. The student body of that institution is minority majority, including both Hispanics, African Americans, and many students from the underserved communities. It's also, most of the students there are the first generation Americans, immigrants. The majority of the students at Miami-Dade College are first in their families to attend college. 65%, listen to this, 65% are low income, 46% live in poverty, and over 70% have to work and go to school, and 35% of those work full time. Now, these students, I call them heroes and sheroes, because they really represent the best hope for America. These are students who are intent in succeeding and getting out of the cycle of poverty. And in spite of that, all the challenges that they confront, Miami-Dade College ranks among the top in retention rates, graduation rates, transfer rates, and placement. This is something that the institution is very proud of, because it has been able to develop a culture of success where the students know that the only way into becoming part of the American dream is by getting a college credential and the skills that are necessary to succeed in the 21st century knowledge economy. By the way, Miami-Dade College graduates more minorities than any other college or university in the nation. But the thing that I'm most proud of is economic mobility. Miami-Dade College is ranked as #1 in Florida among all colleges and universities for the mobility, economic mobility of their graduates. And also it's among the top 4 in the nation. Now, you asked a question about funding. We are a state institution. Miami-Dade College depends on the state for its funding, operational and capital construction. But the problem is, like most community colleges, it's an institution that is totally under-resourced. At Miami-Dade College, the last 12 years, we have basically, let me put it this way. We have today about 15% less in operational dollars revenues from the state than we had in 2008. And the state just imposed a 6% holdback on the budget allocation on top of that. So it creates a very critical situation when you're trying to serve students who are very vulnerable, who really need all kinds of support. These are students who even make use of the food pantries on the college campus because of the fact that many of them do not have enough to eat. But they're students who I am so proud of because they are determined, they know that the only way that they can escape poverty is by doing what they are doing there. So it's something that really, sends a message to the entire nation. And frankly, community colleges in general reflect basically the same picture that I have given you about the college.
So how did you escape from Cuba? Did Fidel Castro say, I don't want you here and you can go, or did you had to sneak out? How did you get out of there?
I was not wanted. My parents worked through the Catholic Church to send me over to the United States. I learned the day before that I was coming to the United States with no knowledge of the language, no knowledge of the culture, and not even $1 in my pocket, only with what I was wearing. And I was one of the lucky ones that was able to be sent out. Frankly, I have no regrets because America opened the doors to me. I'm able to have done and accomplished by the fact that I was able to come to this nation and have a future.
Okay. So Ebony, you chose to go to a historically Black college, North Carolina A&T. Why did you choose to do that? And any regrets about going there as opposed to any other college you could have gone to?
So thank you for the question, David. And what a great question. It's interesting because I actually was on my way to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. My uncle had graduated from North Carolina A&T and had felt that I needed that experience. He was convinced that I needed to go to A&T. And so we made a deal that if I went to A&T for the first semester, he would pay for it. And if I decided I didn't like it, I could transfer. Well, needless to say, 4 years later, I came out with a multitude of confidence, a great sense of belonging and understanding of my place in the world, my place in society. And I think David and Susan and others have talked about it a little bit beforehand, but for me, I've had a bird's eye view of being at a historically Black college, not only as a student. At one point, I was a public school educator. I worked for organizations where I recruited talent, and now having the opportunity to really direct the deployment of this $1 billion, my view has really been that of I've worked alongside some of the most amazing minds in the world, and they've come out of historically Black colleges and universities. And so the myth around there's no talent, there's not a pipeline of talent is just that, it's a myth. Because the reality is that, we only account for about 3% of the total, universities of higher education, and yet produce 20% of those that are coming out undergrad, and then about a third that are coming out from a STEM degree. So just imagine if that funding was increased, and we've done that in spite of the funding challenges that we've had with historically Black colleges and universities. So if you imagine what that could look like as we move forward in the next 150 years, those institutions can produce a lot more of that talent that we see Dr. Thomas, Dr. Walsh see on a day-to-day basis that will ultimately enter these great institutions and really influence where money is being directed over time.
So as a Duke graduate, I can say you made the right decision, not going to UNC. But, so in your job in human resources, no doubt you run into a lot of people who've gone to historically Black colleges and those who haven't. Can you actually tell after a conversation with those who've gone to historically Black colleges that they have gone there just by the way they talk or they act or the way they have self-confidence? Do you see a difference?
I mean, look, I've recruited for a number of years for a number of institutions and from a host of majority campuses. David taught at Wharton. We recruited a ton of students out of Wharton, out of Bennett, out of A&T, out of Morehouse, out of a number of schools. And I wouldn't necessarily say there's that line or that sentence that differentiates that talent that may come from, say, Miami-Dade or any of those institutions. But I think what happens from an HBCU perspective is that we come out with, again, this sense of belonging and purpose and mission, and that confidence exudes from us because we know we're entering a space where that armor will be chinked at on a day-to-day basis. But that sense of grit, that resiliency that I believe, again, there's a bias there coming out of a historically Black college university, that bias of resilience and grit really overcomes. We see that in the halls of many of our large institutions. We see it at the halls of Bank of America, where many of our top senior Black executives have come out of historically Black college universities. And so while I wouldn't say there's a single moment or, again, an issue or a sentence that can differentiate the talent, I think the success of that talent over time and how they are able to advance their careers with these organizations, I believe that the HBCU structure, family support has definitely made a difference in their overall success.
Okay.
David, can I just jump in for a second? Because I think your question is a great one. I'll just give you one database anecdote about this. As you mentioned, I've taught at Wharton School, taught at Harvard, dean at Georgetown. And at one of those business schools, we were noticing that Black students were disproportionately represented in students who went on academic probation and who also decided to leave. So we ran a study, and what we found was that students from the historically Black colleges were much less likely than our students from what might be thought of as more elite schools to find themselves in academic probation. So they were more likely to be successful with the rigors of business schools like Wharton and Harvard than were students from some of the most elite, predominantly white institutions in the nation. And I think the difference was a sense of confidence that even though things were thrown at them that they hadn't seen before, they had that confidence that they could overcome it. And it didn't lead to some of the self-doubt that I've seen in students who may do well, but who come out of predominantly white institutions where there wasn't an expectation that they would do well. And they had yet to really have deep confidence in that, in themselves.
Now, you went to a traditionally white school, more white than Black, Yale. Did you feel at the time discrimination there or racial prejudice when you were there? And how did it affect your life? Yeah,
it's a great question, David. And when you're there and you're 18 years old, and especially if you're like me and you came out of a segregated Black community, which I did in Kansas City, Missouri, I didn't quite know what was happening until I got to my senior year, and I had gone from being a struggling student to being a student who was essentially making straight A's. So I had figured it out, and I realized that I had been at Yale for 4 years. I had never gone to a Yale-Harvard game. So I didn't feel attachment. I left Yale and I didn't have a relationship with one professor. And in fact, when I was trying to get into graduate school, I asked some of the professors who I had gotten A's from to write me letters. And I thought it was just based on, hey, I got an A in your class. And I had to apply to Yale, to Yale's graduate school twice because I got rejected the first time. And my advisor showed me a letter that one of the professors wrote. And he wrote a letter that said, David Thomas did well in my class, but I never thought that he would be applying to Yale.
Well, by the way, I'm a member of the Harvard Corporation. It's called the Harvard-Yale game, not the Yale-Harvard game, just in case you ever have to say that again. Okay.
Well, you know, David, you were there. You were at Harvard before I joined the faculty. They brought me up there to raise the quality of the gene pool, and now they know it's the Yale-Harvard game.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Robert Smith gave a very famous commencement address at Morehouse recently, or about a year ago, I guess it was. And he managed to say that he was going to give everybody in the class money to pay off their student debt. Did you know that was going to happen in advance? And have you been able to find other people willing to be commencement speakers because they all feel, hey, I don't want to be, spending $40 million if that's what they're expecting to be from a commencement speaker. So is it hard to get people to follow Robert Smith? And did you know in advance?
I knew in advance that Robert was going to do something because he had already given the college a 7-figure gift the year before when we gave him an award. So I knew he was going to do something. I didn't know he was going to do that. That was a total surprise. And it turned out to be a $34 million surprise. I have not been able to get any other billionaires to take my call when their assistants ask what does he want to call about, and I say I want to talk about commencement. By the way, David, I think a call from me is buried on your desk.
Well, okay, but you have a person. Reed Hastings recently with his wife. Patty Quillen gave you a fairly large gift. I think it was it 65 million or something like that?
$40 million.
$40 million. Okay. So did that just come out of the sky, or did you have to call them in advance?
No, Reed and Patty had visited the college about 16 months before. Had never visited the college. I think it was their first visit to a historically Black college. Spent about half the day with our students and left making a 7-figure, at that time, low 7-figure commitment to the college. And then as they got more engaged, and I think motivated by some of what we saw happen this last spring, the combination of COVID and its disproportionate impact on the Black community, and the second pandemic that's been revealed in our country, which is systemic and institutionalized racism, they called me up and said they wanted to do something significant, and they knew the needs of the college. And when, I had told them the thing that keeps me up at night is affordability. They came with the $40 million and a request that I not ask either one of them to be the commencement speaker.
Okay, but you can.
So they bought their way out of it.
Okay, so let me ask Suzanne a question. Suzanne, your school is like most schools dealing with COVID, and we all know that the complications. But is your school doing everything remotely now? And because African Americans have been disproportionately affected by COVID, has it disproportionately affected the families of the parents of your student body? And how do you think it will affect students when they come back to campus when COVID's behind us?
Well, we are 100% virtual. We were the first in North Carolina to announce that we would be virtual. This was back in June. And we were one of the first in the country to announce. And the only thing that went into our calculus was the health and well-being of our students. And what we were concerned about was the fact that our students it's a predominantly Black institution. And so our students are Black women, our faculty and staff, predominantly Black women. And with that, most have the comorbidities associated with being vulnerable to coronavirus. So we looked first and only at the health and well-being of our students. We had input from colleagues of mine from the Gates Foundation. Dr. David Allen, who's an infectious disease doc, helped us. One of our alumna, who is a social epidemiologist, Dr. Sherelle Barber at Drexel, she helped us look at the data to say, where is the country going? What are the impacts specifically with African Americans in the United States as well as women? And that was the thing that went into our calculus. So while we are a tuition-driven institution, money was the very last question. I was unwilling to experiment with students' lives. We didn't know where the disease was going, and so we wanted to be proactive. I think it was the right decision. We just had a town hall with students recently where they said, they're not happy to be virtual, but they get it and they appreciate that we focused on their health. So how has it affected our students, faculty, and staff? Our students are still vulnerable. It's like we didn't take away the vulnerability. And so within their families, students have been experiencing either family members with coronavirus. We've had students who've actually had it. We've had staff, even though we're not on campus. So it continues to wreak havoc in the Black community across the US. And I think the other challenge for us becomes when we come back, we'll come back, but it will be probably not until the fall of 2021. And by then it will still be pre-vaccine. And so we have to be able to make sure that we're able to care for students when they get sick, because coming back pre-vaccine in person means students will be sick. And for a small community, on the one hand, our smallness is our strength. And on the other hand, it means we don't have the same resources that other institutions have. And we have to be ready to be able to redesign the campus from a physical perspective to be able to deal with this. We have to make sure that we have access to testing. We have to be able to quarantine and isolate as needed and contact trace. Those things all cost money. And when you're doing your budget, usually you didn't have pandemics as part of your budget. And now we all have to start planning a budget that includes public health resources that we have to figure out where those resources will come from in order to be able to bring our students back in person.
Now, Suzanne and David, what percentage of your students are not African-American? Do you have students who are, let's say, ethnically Chinese? Do you have students who are ethnically Latino? Do you have whites? And why would, say, a white student choose to go to a historically Black college? Suzanne, can you answer that first, then Dave Thomas?
Sure. So we've always had students who are non-Black attend, because while we are historically Black, we were not exclusively Black. And I like to cite one of our alums who was in Hiroshima when the bomb exploded there, and she came to Bennett. So a Japanese student, way back was in attendance. We also had exchange programs with places like Mount Holyoke, but we have about probably only 1 to 2%. It's a very small percentage of our students are non-Black, but we also have Hispanic students. We've had Chinese, we've had Palestinian students, Moroccan, and I think that's what makes for a rich environment. Our goal is not to somehow shelter students from the world. It's to say, how do we lift you up and make sure that you are anti-fragile, that you know how to adjust to a world where it is going to be diverse in many ways. And so we continue to welcome students of all backgrounds.
All right, Dr. Thomas, the same answer?
Yeah, about 5% of our students identify as other than Black. That includes white students, Asian students, biracial students, and international students. We have in the past had white valedictorians. And to Susan's point, we're a historically Black college. We've never been exclusively Black. And so there have always been students on Morehouse's campus and in Morehouse's classes who did not identify as Black and who did identify as white. And it's an interesting question you also posed about why a white student would come to Morehouse. And I've talked to some of our white alumni about that, and I get two answers. One is there are white individuals who actually grow up in Black culture. And one of our alums I spoke to was actually adopted by a Black family. And Morehouse was where he felt most comfortable. I've also had white alumni tell me that when they were in high school, they were around people who talked a good talk about civil rights and equality, and they just realized they had never been anywhere where they had not been in the majority. And if they really wanted to be a soldier, if you will, in the fight for equality, they needed to put themselves in a situation that they see Blacks experience all the time.
Okay, I got it. Eduardo, if you're a public college, as you are, do you still try to get your graduates to give you money when they graduate or when they become wealthy donor potentials, or do they just say, look, you're getting your money from the government, I don't have any obligation to give you money? And why is it that we often read about people now giving money to historically Black colleges, but I don't read about people giving money to historically, let's say, Latino-oriented colleges? Why is that?
Well, the fact of the matter is that, most public colleges and universities who are public, people assume that the government is taking care of them. But a quick review of the history of funding for four-year colleges and universities shows that there is severe underfunding in most of the country. So when it comes to community colleges, it's even worse. You take the case of Miami Dade College in Florida, the dollars per FTE that we get from the state are less than half what the public universities in Florida get for the same education for the students. And even compared to the K-12 system, our college gets about a little bit more than 1/3 of what the school system gets to educate the students. So there are significant disparities in the terms of funding. As far as fundraising, it's no secret that traditionally philanthropists, whether it's individuals or it's foundations or corporations, have really been more intent in supporting more selective institutions, institutions where the students are wealthy, comes from wealthy families, and also students who institutions who are ranked at the top of the nation, even though I believe that this issue of the ranking is an interesting one, because they based most of the ranking in terms of how many students you keep out as opposed to how many students you bring in, right, David? So we know that. And the understanding that we have is that, any investor, any philanthropist who really want to make a difference in America today, who want to really deal with the issues of racial equity, economic mobility, and by the way, the highest return on their investment will invest in institutions like Miami Dade College, like the one that Davey and Suzanne represent. There is no question about that. And so we keep working hard in trying to get this attention, but so far it's very difficult. We were very fortunate to have a Miami family who has already contributed over $130 million to the college. And that have been, a very important saving line for us, because otherwise we would not have the monies to support the students that they so badly need, especially during this pandemic. Just to give you an anecdote, which is not really an anecdote, but share with you during the pandemic what happened at Miami-Dade. We found out as we decided to go virtual that over 3,000 students did not have computers at home. So we have to invest in getting these students computers. And then we found out that more than that did not have either internet or high-speed internet at home, making it very difficult for them to be able to do the work, do the homework and everything else. On top of the fact that many of the students live in situations where they don't have the most adequate circumstances for them to concentrate on their studies when they're at home. So it really complicates things, but I believe there is a new renewed interest in institutions. HBCUs is most definite in terms of community colleges, and also four-year institutions who are Hispanic serving institutions to be able to provide the kind of support that they need in order to continue to make the contributions they make to America today.
Have you ever thought of looking for a wealthy donor whose last name is Dade, and you could say, we're going to name this college after you?
Well, it's already named after somebody with the last name of Dade. It's
Okay.
Miami Dade College, right?
Right. Okay. So Ebony, when Bank of America announced that they was going to give $1 billion to deal with the racial inequities in the United States, did you all of a sudden get a lot of friends that you hadn't had before? People calling you up, asking for some of that money?
Certainly a lot of friends, but I think all for good reason, right? You know, what a commitment. What a way to lead from the front when we think about who we are as an organization, our core values, and the urgency in which we saw in that moment. You know, I think David talked about it earlier, right? The disproportionate impact that the pandemic was having on these communities of color. And then to add on top of that, the pandemic that had always been undercurrent, that always had been there. This systemic issues around racism and economic inequality now are really highlighted. I mean, the light is shining so bright that you really can't hide from it. And so then the opportunity to say, we are going to act, not words, but this is our action. And our action will be rooted in this commitment to these Black and Hispanic Latino communities. And part of that commitment, I think, all of what's been described here today, and we agree with when we think about the role that community colleges will play, the role that Hispanic serving institutions and historically Black colleges will play in this re-energizing of education. It's really about the alignment of career pathways with post-secondary education and aligning with that of the labor market needs. And so when we think about the work that we're doing right now and our jobs initiative is those three things, focused on how do we take local communities that we've supporting, so 21 communities across the country, a number of these institutions that we want to partner with, and then align them along with Bank of America with other organizations, other companies within those markets to really bring those jobs to the table. That notion that we're not just training talent for training, but we're training talent or supporting that talent through jobs and opportunities and commitments that we know exist not only right now, but also those skills and jobs for the future. And that's what we believe, is the really economic mobility and driver of many of these communities. So we could not agree more. And the $1 billion to be the catalyst of that, I mean, there's so much more work that we have to do. We're just a little over 90 days, 120 days into this work, and this is a 4-year initiative. But we think, the jobs piece, the healthcare, small business and home ownership for us are really those wealth creators that we believe will support the communities.
So Bank of America has provided $25 million to the Smithsonian to enhance racial dialogue, and that's a very terrific gift. Who does the Smithsonian thank the most? Can we thank you, or we thank the CEO, or was it your decision, or can you say it was your decision even if it wasn't? What happened? How did we get that money?
It's a collective decision as we think about it. I mean, Brian, obviously our chairman and CEO, as well as all of our MTN members are truly passionate about the work and the partnership that we have with the Smithsonian. And so I think to be able to have that unique partnership with the Smithsonian, that we have now the opportunity to take all of these wonderful learnings and conversations that the Smithsonian can offer to our communities, where we can really be proximate to our people and to the issues and concerns that are really happening. And so it's an exciting partnership. We're looking forward to it. There are many on the call that we have exciting partnerships with. And so more to come as we think about how we'll deploy this capital over the next 4 years.
Okay. Dr. Thomas, what is the greatest pleasure of the job you have, and what is the greatest challenge of the job you have?
The greatest pleasure of the job I have is every morning when the students are on campus, I wake up and I walk to campus. And I reflect on the fact that there are 2,200 men on this campus, and one of them will grow up to be my Martin Luther King.
Okay.
That is to say, someone who will change the world in a profound way. And the highest likelihood is there'll be more than one. And the highest likelihood is that that one will be a Black man. And I get to do that every day. I'm from a family of 4 boys. parents who didn't go to college. So in some ways, I'm finishing out my career by living my biography.
And can you, as the president, go into the records and see how Martin Luther King did as a student? Can you go get his report card, or are you not able to do that?
I already know. And that's the other great thing about being here. Martin Luther King was a C student.
C.
He was a C student. He got 1A, and it was in, no surprise, the class that taught preaching. So he was a C student. So that's also, right? I can't cherry pick.
Okay.
I don't know who he's going to be. So I got to deliver for all of them.
One of the graduates of your college made a famous speech there once. It was President George W. Bush. And he said, to all of your C students out there, you too can grow up to be president of the United States someday. Okay. So Suzanne, what is the greatest pleasure of your job?
I think, students, I'm with Dr. Thomas on that. I can be found wandering the residence halls in the night just to check in, see what's happening. So the students bring a lot of joy because it's the possibility. We can see that possibility in them sometimes before they can see it in themselves. And then our alums, when our alums tell the stories, the arc of, I didn't know that I could become the woman I've become. I mean, what a great place to be able to support that kind of thing. I love one of our alumna recently talked about Bennett, affirmed who she was, affirmed who she could be. And I think that that's just an incredible place to be. So any place that allows us to help support women of color to become the next leaders, the women who are not necessarily leading out in front with the name that everybody knows, but the women leading from the behind and doing the organizing, that's incredible. 60% of our students were arrested during the Greensboro protests at Woolworth, 60%. And it was behind the scenes. They were planning and organizing behind the scenes and how critical that was. So I look for those women who will be leaders, but maybe behind the scenes leaders, as much as I'm looking for those women who will be out in front in the name that we recognize. It's a great place to be.
Okay. Eduardo, for nearly 25 years, you were the president of Miami-Dade. So what was the greatest pleasure of doing that for 25 years?
Well, just like my colleagues, I think that's what we do, and that is seeing our students who are so intent on succeeding, dealing with all the, very issues that they have to face and challenges and obstacles, succeed and do well and become contributors to our nation. I think that's the greatest joy for any college president. Because that's why we chose to do what we do.
Have you ever been back to Cuba?
Yes.
And do you remember any of it when you left? Is it all the same or nothing? I assume the cars are the same.
No, yeah, that's very much so, but nothing looks like what I remember that it was. And it's a totally different country.
Okay. So Ebony, what is the greatest pleasure of your job? And I assume the greatest problem is you have people calling all the time for money, but what's the greatest pleasure of your job?
Well, the pleasure is in that. The pleasure is in hearing all the amazing ideas and opportunities that we have to really make some transformational impact to these Black and Hispanic Latino communities. So the joy in having conversations with individuals, bringing these ideas to the table, whenever I hear about a new announcement or new commitment, it makes me feel amazing to work for an organization that was out leading from the front, but it also still just provides an immense amount of joy to know that these communities that have been underserved for so long are really now getting the attention and the resources that they need, but also making sure that we don't take our foot off the pedal, that this moment is a movement and we have to keep going and we have to continue to invest in these communities, invest in these institutions, historically Black colleges, HSIs, community colleges, because quite honestly, those students, and it sounds so cliche-ish, but it really is the future. And for this economy to really come back and to reach its full potential, every single person is going to have to be engaged and involved. And that includes our Black and Hispanic Latino community members.
Okay, so we have 4 minutes left. So each of you have about 30 seconds to answer this question, if you would. Do you have now, or did you have when you were younger, a role model that was somebody you aspired to be or somebody you currently aspire to be? And let's start with David Thomas.
Yeah, I have to say, my role model was my father, who without a college education, he didn't even graduate from high school, was just a man who portrayed everything, you know, that I think a man should be and do in terms of serving his community. He was the president of our block club, his church, his family, and I've just tried to emulate him in every walk that I've taken in my life, and he continues to be my standard, and I have yet to meet it. And I'm 64 years old.
Well, I'm sure you will meet it at some point. So, Suzanne.
I mean, yeah, it's going to sound cliche. My parents, my father was white, my mother was black. They got married the year after the Loving decision. So these are two people who were fearless and never met a risk they weren't willing to take. And so I continue to hopefully live in that same vein.
Hey, Eduardo.
You know, it's amazing to me how all of us here in this panel have so many common experiences. And I would say my mother, because my mother only completed 3rd grade and yet was one of the most intelligent women that you'll ever meet. And I learned a lot from her. And I remember I owed everything that I am in many ways to her and my father, but especially to her, who made me promise when I left Cuba that no matter what happens, even if I go to bed hungry, that I would go to college. She said to me, in America, if you don't go to college, you will not have a fair chance to succeed. And that I took to heart. And even during the most difficult challenges in my life, I went to college, and I wouldn't be here with you today if it had not been because that wise advice that I got from her.
Okay, on Ebony, role model.
You know, I have to round it out and say my grandmothers. I mean, when I think about their role as the matriarchs within my family, their strength, their courage, their confidence have just been things that I emulate, even in the face of just crisis. Neither one of them were able to finish high school. My mother's mother didn't have more than a 6th grade education, but how intelligent she was, how she understood the world and how it worked, and how that knowledge was just passed along to her grandchildren. And so, you know, I will close and say, to Eduardo's point, we all have so many common experiences, and that of our family, and particularly my family, was tremendously influential on me and who I've become.
Well, for all of you, I would say that the people that work with you and the students at your organizations and colleges no doubt see you as role models. So I want to thank all of you for being terrific role models and participating in our conversation today. And hopefully many people watch it will realize that there are opportunities to provide additional philanthropic support to colleges and universities like yours. So thank you all very much for participating. Thank you all.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
David.
Thank you for this important conversation. We're privileged to close the symposium with educators' perspectives on equity practices in the face of today's dual pandemics. Former Secretary of Education and former teacher, Dr. John B. King Jr. will moderate. He is now the president and CEO of the Education Trust. We're so thrilled he's with us today. And he'll host a conversation with Dr. Manuel Rustin, a social science teacher from John Muir High School, early college magnet in Pasadena, California, and Michele Hand, a kindergarten and 1st grade interventionist from Stanton Smith Elementary School in rural White House, Texas.
My name is John King. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation today with 2 phenomenal teachers, Michele Hand, who's a kindergarten and 1st grade teacher in White House, Texas, and Manuel Rustin, who is a high school history teacher in Pasadena, California. So I want to dive right into the conversation we are really in this moment as a country grappling with multiple pandemics, COVID-19 and its impact on health, our economic crisis that we're experiencing as a country, and then this moment of national reckoning with issues of racial justice. And I'd love for each of you to talk about how your students are experiencing those multiple pandemics and what it's meant for your school community. So maybe we'll start with you, Michele.
Thank you. Well, I do teach kinder and first grade classrooms. So when we think about our kinder and first grade learners, we think a lot of language-rich environments. They are working on their social skills. They are talking and making friends. And so when they're at school, they're just fully immersed in words and language. And when we sent our students home for COVID, what happened was we replaced that language-rich environment with a screen. And we know that screens can inhibit oral language development. And so what we saw when they came back to our classroom was that there was quite a divide. There were children who had fallen backwards academically. They had really they came to us about 6 months behind level. And then we saw some that really did really well over quarantine, and they were immersed in language-rich environments at home and maybe had a little additional support. And so what we have found is that we would really, truly love for these kids to be back in a language-rich environment. It's so fun to see them come into our classrooms now with those smiles on their faces. We have very few discipline problems and a lot of happy kids, the ones that have returned on campus.
Great, thank you, Michele. Manuel, how about for you?
Yeah, so my students are high schoolers, and for a lot of them, the pandemic was especially hard because a lot of my students happen to also have jobs. A lot of them are earners. A lot of their parents are essential workers. So the pandemic hit them really hard in terms of trying to balance keeping the households in shape and order while also staying on top of their studies. And then the reckoning of racial justice. I mean, high school, thinking back to my high school years, that social element of it and being with my friends and really forging my identity was a really, really important part of it. And to not be able to be physically with their friends, with their teachers during this time as they process all that's going on in the nation is really, really challenging. And I asked my students recently about, what about social media? Because in my head, can't they just connect through social media and stay connected? And the response I got from my students was that they are sick of social media. Like, they're really tired of that because it's just not a replacement for that in-person interaction. And a lot of them are really struggling with the dual pandemics and not really having a space with others to process together.
Maybe building on that point from Manuel, Michele, how did you think about supporting kids' sense of relationship with each other and with their teachers, particularly young kids, trying to do that through a screen?
That's challenging, especially with kinder and first grade students. So what we try to do is make as many connections as possible, connect with not just the students, but with parents to see what do these kids need? What can we give them? On the screen, we would try to do the same things we would do in person, a lot of extra conversation, a few extra Zoom calls, maybe reading a book with each other or them finding a book at home and reading it to me, trying to create or emulate some of the experiences that we have in a classroom that now we have to have through a screen.
And Manuel, for you, how did you keep your students positive? There's a lot to be sad, stressed, worried about. How did you not only keep them connected, but keep them hopeful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know myself as a history teacher, I've really focused most on just building community as best as we can build it online and really helping students be really in control of their own learning and serving more as a guide. So my curriculum has changed quite a bit during this time, of course, to be flexible, and we're 100% online distance learning. So the flexibility is really important, especially since a lot of my students work also, but also just trying to shape learning experiences and learning tasks that really help them tap into their own interests and really show them that more than ever, their learning is within their own hands, and I can't be there over their shoulder in the classroom dictating their pace or dictating what they're doing. So really just trying to open it up and be more student-centered. That's always been important, but I think it's even more important now.
Yeah, as a former high school history teacher myself, it's really inspiring to hear both of you talk about your students. The love and care you have for them comes through very much. I'm curious, as we think about the digital divide and its impact, one of the frustrations for me in this moment has been seeing that even though we knew this fall was going to have many challenges and we'd still need to rely on the internet and devices, we still have kids all across the country who don't have reliable internet access, kids who are doing their work on their mom's cell phone because they don't have a device or don't have adequate devices in the household. How has the digital divide affected your students so far? And maybe we'll start this time with you, Manuel.
Sure. So, thankfully, my school district issued students laptops well before the pandemic even started. So we've been a one-to-one district for a while. However, the really big challenge is that internet connection. And a lot of my students live in multi-generational households. A lot of them have little siblings that are on their laptops doing their distance learning. And a lot of them have extended family who might be working from home. And it's just really difficult to have so many folks relying on the internet at the same time. So a lot of my students during my live instruction have messaged me that they can't fully connect because their Wi-Fi is being spottier down. So they're doing it from their phone, which of course eats up their data really quickly. So that has been a major challenge. So just getting devices in their hands, it has not been enough. And a lot of my students also happen to be in foster home placements or group home placements. We have several group homes in our area, and it's even more challenging there because you have so many students on internet that's just not that strong. So it's definitely been a challenge, and that just emphasizes the need to be flexible and extend grace to students as they do their best to try to deal with that challenge.
Yeah, thanks. Michele?
I echo what Manuel said, that we are not a one-to-one campus, but we did and were able to distribute devices to all of our students and hotspots. So having a device or a hotspot wasn't a problem, but the families with multiple children in the same household trying to connect at the same time did propose issues for our broadband connection. I know as an educator, when I was working from home, that I was able to purchase a stronger broadband connection, but I know that that's not the same for my students, that not everyone is able to purchase a stronger broadband connection. And what I think that did is created this divide even more, or pushed it and accelerated it even further, that those that were able to afford high quality broadband connection were able to continue and receive the instruction as it was intended, and those that weren't able to afford a stronger connection were unable to complete their assignments in the same way.
Mm. And this is a huge equity issue, I think, for the country, and really requires a federal response. We really need federal leadership on getting internet access, reliable internet access to every student and family. I'm curious in terms of the use of technology. I'm sure educators who are hearing this will be interested to know, if you could go back to the beginning of this time period and give yourself and colleagues a couple of pieces of advice around making virtual learning work and work well, what advice would you give them? Michele?
That's so interesting, because I think that as educators, we really wanted for technology to grow with us, and then we were forced to use technology only. And what we found once we were immersed in this and screens all day long is that we were desperate for hands-on sorts of activities. And so what we did, we kept on catching ourselves thinking, how do we do this digitally? Oh, wait, we can just pull out a pen and a pad of paper, or, we can pull out supplies that we have in our house. We wanted to really go back to the basics and not get bogged down in the technology. And although technology is so fun and it really can enhance what we're already doing, we were really reminded that hands-on is so important, and we really craved it. And so you don't have to be 100% technology. You can really mix it with what you have already, the basic things. We tell kids all the time, we give them these crazy fun toys, and they really want to go back to the sticks and rocks. I found the same thing happened as an educator. We wanted to go back to, pencils and paper, because that's what we craved. We wanted hands-on, real-life sorts of work.
That makes a lot of sense. Is there one example of a particularly fun lesson where you had students get manipulatives or hands-on objects at home?
Yeah, so I did a science lesson for my first graders, and we were talking about properties of matter. And, I could have just had them record themselves telling me what a certain property of matter was, or describe an object that they saw on the screen. But instead, we went on a scavenger hunt around our house. We tried to find the most fun objects we could find, and then they shared them. So it was kind of like a virtual show and tell, almost like, we talk about that social aspect. We got to see a little bit of what was in their house and learn at the same time.
That's awesome. Manuel, how about for you?
Yeah, definitely would second that. And, from the high school perspective, the less is more is the axiom is very, very, very important to remember, because I think when the pandemic first started, we were, as teachers, very just rushed into this idea of, there's this tech tool, there's this website, there's this, there's that. And I gave students assignments that it was too many links, too many things to log in for, and it was just too much and too overwhelming. And simplifying that and getting down to the basics is really been helpful. And for my students as high schoolers, I've really doubled down on giving students a voice and choice to show me what they've learned, because not everybody is necessarily in a situation where a traditional argumentative essay is the best option right there for them. So what I found is, recent assignments in my government class, that we were learning about social contract theory and Enlightenment philosophers and drawing connections between that and modern day protests. And I gave students the option of writing the traditional argumentative essay or filming themselves, kind of breaking down the links and the connections and what have you. And I got a range of responses. And I learned that students, when I free them up to lean in on their strengths and show me what they've learned, the performance was a lot higher than in the spring, when I was still, giving them just one way to do it and trying to just recreate traditional school, but in a digital context. So just student voice and choice, and really thinking that, less is more, and they don't need 20 tech tools. They just need your grace, and they need focus on the most important core elements of your standards and what your curriculum is.
Well said. Well said. Let me turn to this national conversation we're having about race. And one of the things we think a lot about at the Education Trust is that students need a curriculum that provides windows and mirrors, right? Opportunities to see beyond themselves, but also opportunities to see themselves reflected in the authors they read, the texts that they study, the history that they learn. How have you thought about, in your curriculum, how you create those windows and mirrors? And how has this national conversation about race maybe influenced how you're thinking about that? You want to start, Michele?
So again, with kinder and first graders, a lot of our curriculum is around books and the pictures and the images that we see every day. And so our district has been intentional about choosing curriculum that that mirrors diversity, that mirrors the ethnic makeup of our students. And beyond that, as a teacher who's worried about social, emotional, and this racial equity and equality, when I go out and I find an additional resource, I am particularly drawn toward and gravitate towards images with different types of students that match the types of students I see in my room. If I am pulling out a social emotional card that's asking a student, did you make a friend today? I want the images to match the types of friends that they might see on the playground. And so I'm just very conscious about the images that I put out there for my students. And I want it to be that it's not an issue, that they don't look at a book and say, wait a minute, this doesn't look like me. I really want them to see images around them that reflect them.
Thank you. Manuel, how about for you? How have you tried in your curriculum to address these issues of race and racial justice?
Sure. So it really hits close to home. We had a member of our own community who was shot and killed by police on video right as the school year was starting. So this was something that we couldn't just ignore as a school or as a community. So one thing that I've been trying to do is, regardless of what we're learning in history, I try to help students see the larger context and how it connects to today. So like the example I gave earlier about social contract theory, the Enlightenment thinkers, and modern day protests. And really, I'm trying to model for students how to have these difficult conversations, these courageous conversations, because I think for a lot of us teachers, it's scary stuff, because we know, tension is high and emotions run high, and things could go wrong when, you try to address these issues with the class and students start disagreeing or whatever. But it's more important than ever to model how to have these difficult conversations. And I would definitely love to see more support from districts and policymakers in helping teachers learn how to have these or how to model these difficult conversations with their students, because it's more important now than ever. If we don't address it with students, they're going to go off of what they see on social media or on TV, and a lot of that is just the violent conflicts that we just don't want to have our future be based on.
Well, that's very well said. Michele, I'm curious, with kindergartners and first graders, how much are they bringing to the classroom about these issues? How aware are they of the protests and some of the issues that are happening around us, around issues of racial justice?
It's interesting, living in this digital era. I think that if when we had the protests going on in our city, we were not in school. So a lot of times students at this age, they will come into the classroom with things that they have seen just recently. And so it would have been interesting to be a teacher when the protests were happening in our community. We haven't had any recently. And so it's not something that they are bringing up. And I mean, they're very young, and I do think it's a conversation worth having. I agree with Manuel that some teacher training on how to discuss this with children, especially at any age, even kinder and first graders. How do you appropriately talk through these issues at all different age levels?
Yeah, that raises I think a really interesting question, especially for the Smithsonian community, because they do a lot of professional development. What experiences have you had either in your teacher preparation or in professional development experiences during your teaching career that have prepared you for grappling with these issues? And what are some things that you experience that you think are really good that more teachers should get to have? Manuel, you want to start?
Yeah, so to be honest, in terms of the professional development that's been, assigned to us, I haven't gotten a lot. So a lot of it for myself, I had to go out and learn on my own and tap into resources like the Abolitionist Teachers Network, tap into works like, Cultivating Genius by Goldie Muhammad, tap into tolerance.org, and a lot of other folks out there who are doing good work and modeling for teachers how to have these conversations with students and how to help students explore these themes and these topics. So a lot of it has had to be independently on my own, which I think is unfortunate because teachers, we already are doing so much, and to rely on teachers to figure this stuff out on their own, it's not a feasible model, I don't think, for us to get anywhere. But yeah, that's sort of the situation that I've experienced for sure.
How about for you, Michele?
Well, I echo what Manuel said again, is that unfortunately we have had no professional development training on talking about these issues. It is something that we've had to do on our own. So for example, I will find an article, and I have some administrators that are on board with discussing this issue. And so we will share and we will talk about these things on our own. How do we handle this? One of my administrators is a former counselor. And so we have these conversations just on the side. But as far as professional development, we haven't had any, unfortunately.
I mean, it's such a missed opportunity. I just feel like these issues should be central in teacher preparation as we prepare teachers for an ever more diverse student population, and they should be a part of ongoing professional development. So I'm sorry to hear that you didn't have the support, but I'm glad to hear that each of you has found ways personally to grow in these areas. I'm curious, in a sort of related area, one of our challenges as a country is a majority of our kids are kids of color. But only 18% of our teachers are teachers of color. Only 2% of our teachers are African-American men. And we're not moving very quickly to close those gaps. I'd be curious for each of you, as you think about your school community and your school district community, what do you see happening around trying to diversify the teaching profession? Oh, go ahead, Michele.
So my administrator that when we are hiring, we specifically ask for teachers of color. And I am in Texas. We have a lot of Black and brown teachers. Well, we hope to find we have a lot of Black and brown students. And so we hope to find teachers that mirror our students. And unfortunately, every time we ask, we get very few candidates. So I think that the first thing we need to do is, build up teacher preparation programs, encourage teachers of color to enter the education profession. There is an opportunity there for students to think, oh, like I would love to be a teacher, and to go and to find programs. There are programs out there that I think give scholarships and support for those wanting to enter the profession. And now we just need to find those that want to enter them.
Absolutely. Manuel?
Yeah, it's very, very important issue. And a lot of it is thinking about the pipeline. I mean, our education system, it's no secret that Black and brown students have been heavily marginalized, and the outcomes for Black and brown students aren't near what the outcomes are for their peers. So, you think, well, why would a student who had a negative experience through school, why would they want to return to school as a teacher? So a lot of it is looking at it as a pipeline issue and trying to, of course, build a system where folks feel valued and feel humanized throughout their schooling experience, but also encourage folks early on and have, look at the junior colleges where a lot of Black and brown graduates go, and have supports to financial supports to help them go through all the hoops and barriers and overcome all the hurdles needed to become a teacher, from the certification tests to residency and all that. It will be great to see more support, more financial support for student teachers, for intern teachers, so that they could afford to be a student teacher, because a lot of folks have to make the choice, like, I could enter this program and be a student teacher for a year, but I'm not getting paid for that. And I have bills to pay. I have student debt to clear. And those financial supports will go a long way to encouraging more folks to enter the profession, for sure. And there's a lot of programs out there doing great work along those lines, Black Teacher Project and others, but we need more support to make it happen.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, this is another place where federal leadership would be very powerful. We had a federal commitment to diversify the teaching profession, to increase the number of bilingual teachers, which is also a desperate need. But it's also a place where states could be leading. Many of the teacher preparation programs are public higher ed institutions that are part of the state government. The state could be doing a lot more to diversify the teaching profession. And school districts could be doing more with Grow Your Own programs. We could be getting high school students, mentoring younger kids so that they can get excited about teaching, paraprofessionals, and folks in sort of non-teaching roles in buildings could be another potential pool that's often more diverse.
I totally agree. There is a teacher aid program here in Texas, but a lot of teachers don't know about it. Unfortunately, they allow full-time teacher aides in Texas classrooms. They give them tuition reimbursement, which is amazing. But more people need to know about these programs, and I think mentorship is key. Really sticking with those students that want to become teachers. Yes, for sure, they need to know about these opportunities so that they can both have a salary and be in school and be supported at the same time.
Yes, yes. And one thing I'd love to ask you both to talk about is teacher communities that you're a part of. And I mean, this is one of the ways we could retain more teachers of color, but teachers generally, keep folks in the profession. What are the teacher communities that you've been a part of that have been meaningful for you in your career? And, you know, what advice would you give to young teachers about teacher communities they might be a part of? Manuel, you want to start?
Sure. So, you know, we were just talking about teachers of color, and as a teacher of color, I can tell you it's been really isolating work in some of the sites that I've worked at. So I've had to go online to find my community, and there's a lot of great groups online that have offered me space and offered me supports. Educolor is one that I could think of just off the top of my head, founded by Jose Vilson, who's a math educator in New York City, and Liberate and Chill is another one. There's these various communities online where teachers can get together and really process the challenge of being an educator during this time and really be pointing in the right direction. And through those communities, I've been pointed to the work of so many brilliant educators out there that's been really, really, really helpful. So for me, it's been virtual and online. And, you know, when I think to my own school site, the staff at my school site is great, but it's always a challenge to have time to really connect on a deep level with other teachers, because we're always so busy, because there's, you know, we have so little prep time to really take care of all the responsibilities that we have to take care of. So definitely a challenge.
John?
I also say what Manuel says. There are two ways that I found teacher community. One is through our own building, and, you know, really building relationships with the teachers around you, those teachers that are on your team. It really is those teams of teachers that can close those inequality gaps when you work together to really support students. So starting in the school, but then also I work with an organization called Teach Plus, which has been a fantastic resource for talking about teacher diversity and closing achievement gaps, and how do classroom teachers lend their voice to policymakers? How can we be the change? How can we lend a voice to our co-teachers and our students? So I do think that that's something that teachers have to seek out, outside of the walls of their school. But there are some fantastic groups out there to be a part of, and I'm proud to be a part of Teach Plus and the work that they're doing.
Fantastic. As a Teach Plus board member, I especially appreciate your saying that. That's fantastic. And I've followed Jose Vilson for a long time and appreciate the communities that he's helped to build. So thanks for shouting him out, Manuel. Yeah. Let me turn to another topic. One of the challenges, I think, in many schools historically has been not all kids get access to the full range of opportunities. And in some schools, there's such heavy emphasis on English and math that kids aren't getting much science and social studies. Other schools, limited resources mean they're not able to provide robust arts opportunities. In other cases, some schools have 20 AP classes and other schools have none. talk about what you've seen over your careers in terms of kids' access to a well-rounded education and what you'd like to see for your students in terms of a well-rounded education. Manuel, you want to start?
Sure. So I'm very fortunate to work at a school that has been able to find creative ways to fund a really well-rounded education. So we have 3 career-themed academies in California. The California Partnership Academy model provides some funding for career technical education. So we have a Arts Academy, Arts and Media Academy, which I happen to teach within, Engineering Academy, a Business Academy, and we're also an early college magnet school. So we're able to get a magnet grant to have dual enrollment classes. So we have a partnership with our local community college, Pasadena City College. They leased out one of the buildings on our campus, and we have dual enrollment classes right off the bat for our students. Our students are something around 90% low SES and predominantly students of color, and to have free college classes right on our campus has gone a long way to help them graduate with some college credits already under their belt. And the combination of all these grants has allowed us to build a TV studio and a really great engineering lab and all kinds of great stuff. I'm really worried what the future holds across the system, though, given the fact that we are in the middle of this pandemic. I personally am worried that the learning loss that's happening, or I call it the so-called learning loss, because I know a lot of students are learning a lot at home with their relatives and with their families. But I feel like that's going to be weaponized over the next couple of years to create pathways towards having even more emphasis on English and math and even less emphasis on the arts, similar to what I saw when I first entered the profession in the 2000s. So I really, really hope schools don't sacrifice some of their electives and their art programs in the name of catching kids up in math and English because of the time spent away from the school building during this pandemic. That's just my perspective of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's a real challenge that folks assume that we can get better reading outcomes with less science and social studies, when in fact it turns out that if we want better reading outcomes, kids actually need more science and social studies, more opportunities to build knowledge and vocabulary and so forth. Michele, how about for you?
So what I hear Manuel saying is that a lot of his fantastic programs are through grant money, which I find the same thing is happening at our school. We do have a music program, but we do not have an art program. And so our teachers take that responsibility on through the use of their funds and through grant money. We have had grants for, tower gardens and all sorts of wonderful opportunities for students to learn the arts, but it does require teachers going out and finding grant money to support those extra activities, the arts. And so that makes me sad as far as coming back to school and learning reading and math. What I see happening is that the arts, if we're talking about social, emotional, academic development, we know that we have to support our learners socially and emotionally, and the arts are a great way to do that. If we emphasize reading and math too much, then we'll see their anxiety rise, and I don't think that will improve their test scores or their achievement. We really need to have a balanced education, particularly going forward as these students come back with learning gaps. And we will spend not just a few weeks, but I think we'll be spending years trying to fill these gaps that will exist when they return from this COVID break that we have. And I think we really need to balance that with the arts so that we see reduced anxiety and, in the end, higher performance.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, I hope we see some federal leadership around resources for school districts to protect the kinds of well-rounded education programs you're describing, but also resources to create opportunities for more enrichment after school, in the summer. That I think will help us to make up for some of what kids have missed, but also just give them a richer educational experience. I want to make sure we talk a little bit about the role of philanthropy. And Michele, well, both of you highlighted this challenge that sometimes a grant makes something more fragile and there's not enough public commitment to the public investment that's needed. But talk about, from your perspective, what do you see as the potential role for philanthropy in this moment, both in addressing the consequences of COVID, but also addressing systemic racism and its impact on our society? Go ahead, Michele.
That's a big question. Those were a lot of questions tucked in nicely to that one thing. So I think first I would think particularly about how philanthropy has impacted our students. One thing that we've had taken away from us, and I think a lot of teachers would say is something that they lack, is time. And so what our grants have given us, maybe through hiring a few extra teachers, additional teacher support, has given us the time to really spend with students that need that extra time and support. And I think that our students will need a lot of extra time and support. And so, for all of the reasons that you mentioned, the racial injustice, the lack of arts, I think philanthropy can play a large part in investing in time through maybe teacher hours, investing in programs. And, I think our go-to has been to invest in technology. And I think we're all finding that, okay, although we need broadband, for free, equal education, I think that philanthropy can go a different direction and maybe give us the time we need with our students. So it could go a long way, I think.
Thanks. Manuel?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of that, and it certainly can go a long way. And just again, speaking about my own school site, it's gone a long way towards getting us to where we are today. But of course, the danger always is as the money comes in through this grant or through that foundation, then either the school district itself or levels above the school district start to rely on that money and therefore not. So like, as a teacher, a lot of times when we need supplies, it's coming out of our career technical partnership grants. But that, where do we get supplies for before that grant came around? So it becomes something that just supplants the support that we should be getting from the state or from the federal government. So, when I think about my own school site, we've had a number of different grants, and each grant has impacted our teaching in one way or another. But some of the constant ongoing challenges that we have are above and beyond just the technical aspect of supplies or curriculum, but it's, the supports for students. We have almost 1,000 students on our campus and only 2 full-time counselors, and we don't have enough therapists at all. We don't, on our campus, we happen to have a nonprofit that offers some therapy services, but we need a lot more of that. And we have a lot of group homes in our area, and I've been at the school for 12 years, and I only know of one meeting that we were able to arrange where we actually sat down with members of each group home to kind of get on the same page about how to strategically support students who are in foster placement. So when I think about the role that philanthropy can play, I just really, really think that we need to consider how can we ensure that these resources aren't just being used to supplant what the district or the state was already supposed to do? Like, how can we make sure these resources maybe cover some of the things that sort of blend across stakeholders? So something like more counselors, social workers, therapists, liaisons between schools and community stakeholders to support students in ways that I, as a classroom teacher, can't. I love definitely all the support, all the grants, all the opportunities to pay for a projector for my class or pay for books for my students, for sure. But it's a lot of other stuff that could go a really long way to supporting students that seems to continue to fall through the cracks. So, that's sort of how I view it.
I really appreciate that. I hope that some folks in philanthropy will think about the opportunity to invest in advocacy, because at the end of the day, the public sector has tremendous resources, and philanthropy can't make up on its own for the public sector not fulfilling its responsibilities. I think about the fact that we have 1.7 million kids who go to a school where there's a law enforcement officer and no school counselor. Right? That's not a philanthropy problem. We need advocacy to say every kid should be able to have access to a school counselor. And that is a public responsibility that should be shared by the whole society. We only have a little bit of time left. I want to get to a couple more things. I'd love for each of you to reflect a little bit on self-care. You know, in the midst of these multiple pandemics, all the needs that your students are bringing, how have you made sure to take care of you during this period?
Yeah, the same. Sure. The same flexibility and grace that I'm extending to my students, I constantly remind myself to extend that to myself as well, because I've been teaching for 17 years, but I've never been trained in how to teach in this distance learning pandemic style. So this is my first year teaching all over again in a way, and just reminding myself to not not get down on myself, based on student engagement or based on, how much work I'm receiving for students, and just remember that as challenged as they are to try to learn a whole new way of doing school, that extends to me as well. So being patient with myself, being patient with my students, really focusing and honing in on joy and creating joyous moments each class period. Like in my head, I'm always thinking like, where's the joy in this particular lesson or this particular exchange with students? Because I want them to feel good about being in my class and being connected to school despite the circumstances. So for me, that self-care comes from just like realizing that nobody has all the answers. We're all doing our best. I'm doing my best. And, together we'll get through this sooner or later. But the day's going to come where it's like, okay, this is behind us and we did our best and our kids are still here. And we're going to move on into a brighter future.
Absolutely. Michele?
The same things that I encourage my students to do during this time, art therapy, spending some time at home in art therapy, going home, sleeping well, making sleep a priority, making eating well a priority, trying to get out and exercise, all of the things that I encourage my students to do, I'm trying to encourage myself to do. And I think we all need grace. We all know that this is not normal. I want to encourage my students every day to find the good in each day, to keep a good attitude about what is happening. And so I try to do the same thing for myself. And, it's not perfect, but we keep telling ourselves we're all in this together, which I think has been very helpful, with our colleagues and with our students. We're all in this together. We're all in the same boat. We understand each other, be empathetic, understanding, flexible, and come each day ready to learn and ready to face a new day.
Fantastic. We just have 2 minutes left. So with that time, could you each take a minute and tell me either about a teacher who made a huge difference in your life or a colleague who inspires you?
Miss Miller. We all have that teacher we can shout their name.
Tell us.
Right? So in third grade, I had Miss Miller, and she really took me on. I wasn't a teacher's kid. She just saw that I was struggling, and so she would pull me aside after school. I mean, she wasn't easy on me, but she incentivized growth, gave me extra stickers for things, and she just took me on. She chose me, it felt like she understood me. And I feel like I try to remind myself every year that I want to be Mrs. Miller, find those students and make them feel like I chose them, that, I am in an intervention capacity. I pull small groups. And so a lot of times these students feel like they have to come to me, but I want them to feel like I chose them. I want them to be there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Manuel?
Awesome. When I was in 10th grade, I was failing my English class, had nothing to do with the work. It was just, I was just not tuned in. And my 9th grade English teacher, Mr. Murray, Craig Murray, pulled me aside and asked me what was going on. He's a fellow UCLA Bruin. He knew I wanted to go to UCLA, and, I didn't give him the answer. I didn't give him any answer. It was all just personal stuff, but I never forgot the fact that he wasn't my teacher anymore. He was my 9th grade teacher, not my 10th grade teacher, but he pulled me aside and checked in with me And that meant the world. And that let me know that, you know, I'm not alone at this, and people are rooting for me. So definitely, Mr. Murray.
Awesome. Thank you for a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. King, Dr. Rustin, and Ms. Hand for this insightful and inspiring conversation. And thank you to all the participants in the National Museum of American History's two-day symposium on philanthropy's impact on educational equity. Video from this Philanthropy Initiative event will be available on the Philanthropy Initiative website at americanhistory.si.edu/philanthropy. The online Giving in America exhibition is also accessible from our site. We so appreciate you tuning in to our virtual two-day symposium. Here at the Smithsonian Institution, we encourage all our visitors and guests to convene, observe, and exchange thoughts on a wide variety of content. At your National Museum of American History, we feel it's especially important to showcase all facets of history, good and bad, big and small. We hope this symposium has helped our audience grapple with today's complex problems and look to future solutions by understanding these issues within the larger context of American history and philanthropy's long participatory tradition. Thank you once again for being with us. Stay safe.